biggest barriers to the optimal execution of collateral management?
So there's a lot in that question. And I would say that the biggest barriers are probably still internal. In that, you may have a problem and you have a problem, you're in operations or you're in strategy or you're in risk, and you first need to gain concurrence. You probably need to educate your business partners at the firm that you're at. Depending on where you're at, if you're in a smaller buy-side institution that is just getting caught and swept up in the rules, you may have to actually educate and do a lot of conversations to get buy-in. I think once you've gotten buy-in, the challenge is still there, and as it has been really time immemorial. Budget. Do you have money? And if you don't have budget, you need to go out and get budget. So I still think about the word barrier. To me, is kind of like internal. Like that internal institutional concurrence that you need to gain to actually make change. When you've done that, I think I look at the industry and where we are right now as less barrier strewn and more various turns that you can take in the road. The options are innumerable. You have the vendor community is a very rich community. You've got a lot of good options. There are a lot of service providers where you can work with them. And there are a lot of what I would refer to as non-traditional collateral management solutions, cloud solutions, some of the solutions that are being provided that are really delivered through a terminal. So I think you've got a tremendous amount of options and decisions that you need to make to determine what's the best for your institution, because it's a cliche, but there is no one-size-fits-all when it comes to a solution.
So along those lines, should firms take a tactical or a strategic approach to fixing any problems with collateral management?
That depends. I think that depends on the type of institution that you're in and what your strategy is. I mean, I think there's always going to be some strategy in your firm, but you may be in a situation right now that, again, due to the impending FX rules, the FINRA rules that just came through, the uncleared margin rules in March, you don't have a choice. You've got to comply. So you may actually think about a very tactical solution to gain compliance and show the regulators that you understand there's risk there and you're going to try to mitigate that risk as best you can. But you may be looking out a couple of years and saying, well, this isn't going to work for me in the long term. So to me, there's nothing wrong with a two-sided approach where you tactically look for a way to improve the current process you have right now. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Partial solutions, you could actually outsource parts of it, but then you're still looking and you've got that strategy for the ultimate solution.
Should executives at financial services firms get involved in the process of optimizing collateral management?
I don't think there's any question the answer is yes, and I think that once you get to a point where you know that you've mitigated your risk, you know that you have collateral that you're supposed to have, and you have it where you're supposed to have it, meaning at the custodians, then it comes down to how do I optimally use the collateral and source collateral to satisfy my requirements. And I think it is true, it's been a cliche, another cliche, about how collateral management has moved from the back office, which I always refer to as a middle office function, not a back office. When I first started 20 years ago, it was middle office, but from the middle office, say, to the front office. Mm-hmm. And I think that the more sophisticated of an institution that you are, you're going to probably have an executive who is actually responsible for that optimization, for the usage. And again, there's life cycles. So if you're thinking about just getting through and complying with the regulations and having some technology to know what your requirements are and to communicate those requirements to ensure you have the cloud, you're probably not thinking so much about optimization. But once you've done all that, and that's where I think the largest dealers are, they've done this, right? So they've actually, pretty much, I would say most, all of the largest dealers have an executive who's responsible for optimization or usage or finance, and usually it kind of attaches to the financing
At
desk.
least a high-level perspective to make sure
Absolutely.
it's all the parts are coming together.
Thanks for watching this video interview. Like what you saw? Click on the link here to subscribe and stay up to date on FTF News content and events.